Picture this. He's sitting across from her at a late-night diner. She's scrolling through her phone between bites. And he realizes for the 100th time that nothing he says will change how she treats him tomorrow. He pays the check, walks out, and doesn't argue. No dramatic scene, just silence. That's the moment most of these exits begin, not with shouting, but with a small, steady decision. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." And that kind of quiet power is exactly what makes a man walk. A friend of mine stayed with his partner through a job loss, all-night hospital waits, and the slow crumble of her business. 2 years later, she filed and took the kids' school records, his savings, and the house. That story isn't rare. It's a pattern. Men notice those patterns. The unpaid emotional labor, the repeated tests, the gratitude that vanishes, the second stability arrives. When you add up late nights, bailouts, and being blamed for feelings you didn't create, walking away starts to look like common sense. Another example. A guy I know matched the energy of a relationship for 5 years, bought shared gifts, negotiated mortgages, supported therapy costs. And when his own father got sick, she needed space. He took time off to care for his father and came back to accusations he abandoned the relationship. That betrayal, that mismatch between words and actions, is the grind that burns men out. There are silent exits too. A college roommate stopped answering calls over time, then unfollowed. No drama, just a vanishing. He'd been emotionally exhausted by the constant cycle of proving himself. Check-ins that needed compliments. Anniversaries turned into tests. Jealousy framed as passion. The slow fade isn't cowardice. It's preservation. If love consistently costs your peace, the rational move is to stop paying. Culturally, we've been teaching men to perform at extremes. Provide, protect, be available, be soft, be strong all at once. Movies and ads sell the idea that your worth equals your availability to someone else. A teenager grows up watching that, and then sees older men getting burned for the same behavior. The formula stops working when the system rewards being disposable rather than being devoted. For every guy who sacrifices, there are 3 headline stories of men burned in courts or ghosted after loyalty. That's structural, not anecdotal. Psychologically, modern dating is engineered around attention economies. Social media turns intimacy into a show. Likes, DMs, public validation. I saw a story where a woman posted a breakup months after the relationship had quietly ended. And the comments were a marketplace of sympathy offers. Men internalize the mismatch, private support for public performance. When the stage demands drama, many men choose the audience of their own life instead. Gameplay in relationships has also shifted. Where commitment once meant mutual long-term investment, now commitment looks conditional loyalty traded for convenience. Example: a guy who always picked up late-night shifts so they could pay rent, only to be told he was too rigid when he asked for a clear plan. When the expected reciprocity disappears, resentment grows. Resentment becomes a slow toxin. Leaving becomes the antidote. Legal and financial structures matter too. Real stories of men who lost homes or custody despite decades of investment create a risk-reward calculation. One married friend hesitated to start a business. Financial structures matter too. Real stories of men who lost homes or custody despite decades of investment create a risk-reward calculation. One married friend hesitated to start a business because his ex had threatened divorce, knowing the legal costs would drain his capital. When the legal and social incentives skew heavily against risk-taking for men in relationships, stepping back becomes a rational defense. So what's the practical clarity? First, value stability over validation. If your partner's default is to punish vulnerability, that's not a compatibility glitch. It's a warning sign. Example: a man who stopped oversharing texts and instead scheduled one honest conversation a week. Within months, his anxiety dropped, and he stopped feeling like he had to perform emotional labor on demand. Small behavior changes compound. Second, build boundaries like infrastructure. My cousin started saying no to unpaid emotional cleanup. He offered alternatives: therapy, time-limited support, or hands-on help instead of always filling the void himself. That shift forced clearer expectations. Boundaries aren't passive walls. They're blueprints for how you'll be treated. Third, invest in a life that's not contingent on romantic receipt. Travel, craft, income streams, friendships. Real examples: a single man I know started a weekend woodworking studio, and within 2 years had clients, stable income, and mornings he kept for himself. When your life has built-in meaning, you don't stay out of fear of being alone, you stay because the relationship genuinely adds value. Fourth, communicate consequences, not threats. Say plainly, "I'll support you through X, but I won't accept Y." Example, another friend told his partner, "I'll help with the house while you job search, but I won't be manipulated into paying someone else's debts." That clarity either invites partnership or makes the mismatch obvious. Either outcome is better than slow erosion. For women who want different results, understand this. Men walking away is often a reaction, not the root cause. If you're losing good partners, ask for concrete examples. One woman asked her ex for the specific moment he left. He pointed to 3 incidents of public humiliation, and 1 instance where she used his kindness as leverage. She listened, changed, and later kept a relationship intact by prioritizing respect as much as affection. This isn't a manifesto to avoid love. It's a call to realign incentives so relationships become mutually reinforcing instead of extractive. Example, couples who set rules, financial transparency, shared calendars, agreed emotional check-ins report fewer surprises and longer tenure. Structure helps feelings survive. Finally, understand the quiet paradox. Walking away often makes a man more available to the right life, not more closed off. He isn't leaving to punish. He's leaving to recoup his inner resources. Example, the diner guy from the start found himself 6 months later running a small barbershop, mentoring kids, and dating only when someone matched his day-to-day respect. He came back kinder, not colder. If you're listening and you want to change the trend, start with accountability, yours and theirs. Stop confusing drama for depth. Stop mistaking emotional volatility for passion. And if you're a man thinking about peace, know this. Leaving isn't always about rage. Sometimes it's the calmest, most dignified act left. If you got value from this, do one steady thing. Reflect on one relationship where your peace was priced too low, and decide one boundary to enforce this week. If you want more raw, practical breakdowns on navigating modern relationships without losing yourself, subscribe and I'll keep it direct. Walk away from what drains you, not from what grows you.